The Cubs and other teams right now are looking for help in the bullpen. And a guy that we all know and love, Aroldis Chapman, being rumored to possibly, if the circumstances work out right, be on the block. And if he was, would we want him back with the Cubs? I think I know the answer. We're going to talk about that. Justin Steele says that if the season ended right now, Pete Crow Armstrong's your MVP. We'll talk that and more right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Hey, guys, love you so much. Thank you for commenting, being a part of what we do every day, liking and subscribing. Thumbs up for the content. Hit the bell so you know when we're dropping live shows. And don't tell your Cardinal friends anything other than, like, it's hard for them to chew and walk at the same time when they got gum in their mouth. So let's just leave it for you guys. Thank you. And for Cardinals fans, hey, guess who's in first? What do you say, everybody? Mick Gillespie, Cubs Baseball channel. Thank you for being here. The Cardinals, I know I talk about you guys every day, but your GM's like, well, you know what? We would like to make things interesting at the deadline. We want to win the World Series here. So you guys make things interesting at the deadline. We want to make things interesting in the World Series, and that's why we're on this channel every day talking about Cubs baseball, and appreciate all you guys for being a part of what we do. All right. A couple guys are kind of contributing to this, right? Chad Jennings with the Athletic, Boston Red Sox closer, Aroldis Chapman as a potential trade chip. Bob Nightingale, our friend, wrote about that too. You know, hey, look, the Red Sox are out of it, and it doesn't look like they're going to contend. Then, you know, Aroldis Chapman, who is on a 1-year, almost $11 million deal, who's having a pretty damn good season, could potentially be someone that the Cubs are interested in. So what do you guys think? I think you think the same thing I think. Look, if you can make a deal to get him, right? You might have to give up someone. I think I saw a Nightingale story or one of them. They were like James Triantos. It's a pretty big chip to get, a reliever that's on a 1-year deal. But it worked in 2016. And the Cubs need pitching. They need outs. The offense is really good. And I know they were shut out by the Nationals last night, but I felt like the Nationals made some plays, and I felt like the Cubs got some bad luck. This isn't like last year's team where you would watch them, they'd get shut out, and you'd be like, there's no punch there. You know, certain nights you're just not going to have success in baseball, and I've never had a problem with that. This team can score on you in different ways. They can do it with power. They can do it gap to gap. They can do it by getting men on base and stealing and getting singles. I have no problem with the way this team plays and scores runs. Major League Baseball, you're in a pitcher's duel last night, and then, they get a home run and then, score an extra run and you don't, right? But the Cubs, what I love about them is that top of the 9th inning, you look around and here comes Kyle Tucker up with a couple men on base. Just to give you a little bit of fear if you're the Nationals. Now, you want to take care of business today and win the series. And look, it's part of a tough, road stretch. But at the same time, I'm pretty confident in what this team brings to the table, right? And I think that adding Aroldis Chapman could be a brilliant move. And I don't know if you use him as closer. I don't know if you use him as a setup guy. But at 37 years old, he is still pretty consistent. And there were a lot of you guys on this channel that were wondering why the Cubs weren't more involved in him as a free agent this year. And I don't know. Maybe they thought that eventually he'd peter out. I was looking at Ricky Henderson's stats yesterday, and I was like, man, this guy just kept on going, and he got a lot of 1-year deals. And the reason why is that you figure at some point you're going to run out of juice. But Chapman, it's almost like he's ageless. But we saw what he did in 2016. I think he's a little bit better of a pitcher now. Maybe he doesn't have as good a stuff. But would you love to have him in the back end of that bullpen, yeah, I mean, of course you would. And maybe you get Palencia, and eventually you get Porter Hodge. Maybe Presley gets better. I don't know. But the more guys that you have at the back end that can get outs when you're trying to take down the Mets and the Dodgers, especially guys like Chapman that aren't going to be intimidated by Ohtani or anybody else, Alonso, any of those guys, the better chance you're going to have to win and win big games. So we'll see what happens. But this is a really good fit for the Cubs. The Cubs have the prospect to make this deal happen. And they also have a spot where there's guys that they have in their minor league system that they don't have any place for them in the big leagues. So maybe that kind of, pushes you to make a deal. I don't know. Look, the bottom line is this. No one's going to complain about the trades you make when you win. It's the trades you make when you don't win that people don't like. And adding Chapman could potentially be a difference maker for this team that I feel like is really close. All right, this was interesting. Justin Steele basically was tweeting about Pico Armstrong. Let me tell you guys this about Steele. Know him, love him, really a great baseball guy. I know he's an excellent major league pitcher, but he just loves the game, and he gets it. And so him saying PCA is your MVP, get over it. You have to look at his vantage point on why he would say that. The home runs, the RBIs, the batting average. I know the on-base percentage is kind of his weak point. The stolen bases are there. But why a Justin Steele looks at PCA and says, hey, this is your MVP. And I know, look, I think Kyle Tucker's in this conversation. You got Shohei Ohtani. You got a lot of great players in this conversation. But none of them are better defensively than Pete Crow Armstrong. I mean, just look at the game against the Nats last night, some of the catches that he made. When you're pitching and you give up a rod in the outfield and some dude just makes the catch for you, like runs it down, you appreciate that. And I think it goes a little bit under the radar how good he is. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Tucker. Look, Tucker's a great player too, and I think he's the inspiration, around all of the success that the Cubs are having right now. But I'm telling you, Pete Crow Armstrong, easily in the MVP conversation. And when you factor in his base running and then his defense is better than Tucker's, better than everybody. And Tucker's a former Gold Glove winner. Pete Crow Armstrong stays healthy, he's going to win multiple Gold Gloves. He's a game changer in center. And pitchers love that. And they get that. Like I've learned more about outfielders from pitchers than I have from outfielders because they know. So I definitely thought that was interesting. Now, the final thing I wanted to talk about was Jesse Rogers suggesting that Jed Hoyer would get an extension before the All-Star break. I'm curious about this. If I'm Tom Ricketts and I'm the Cubs, why would I give an extension before the end of the season and see the entire body of work? Jed hasn't won anything. And, like the Kyle Schwarber release or whatever that was is honestly, it's one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen. He's done some smart things too. I thought that he had to retool the organization because when Theo left things in shambles. People don't want to talk about that because he won the World Series, but he had checked out and the organization needed to be revamped. I thought he did a good job of that. The Pete Crow Armstrong deal is going to turn out to be one of the best in Cubs history. The rest of the trades that they made at the deadline, not so good right now. Owen Casey could be a great trade too, or depending on what they trade him to get. But I still believe that he's a player that's going to make an impact. And, Cade Horton's going to be somebody that we're going to look back at. So do I think he should get an extension? Probably. But I wouldn't give anything out until the end of the year. We've been here before. Not as good, But in a spot where you're looking at June and you're going, hey, we're going to make the playoffs. Let's make the playoffs first. Let's make a run first. Let's earn that spot. The sense of urgency that's around this front office is fueling a lot of the success that I think this team's having, because these guys aren't waiting around anymore. And that's a good thing. Do I think he'll get an extension? Yeah. But if it happens before the All-Star break, I think that they're making a mistake. And I'm also looking forward to seeing if Major League Baseball is going to give the Cubs the All-Star game. I think it's going to happen, and that's exciting as well. It's time to have it back at Wrigley. Tom Ricketts and the Ricketts family have put a ton of money into the facility to build it back up. I know some of you guys might not understand that, and some of you guys do, but the infrastructure was collapsing. And when the Tribune owned the team, they didn't do anything to fix Wrigley. They didn't do anything to fix the organization. It was just an investment to them that they didn't invest a lot back into. And the Ricketts family has put a lot back into Wrigley and the Cubs, whether it be Sloan Park, whether it be what they've done at the stadium, the Dominican facility. But, give those guys their credit. I know a lot of you feel like they should be spending more money on the roster, and that's not the debate I'm making right now. I'm just telling you that they are a huge upgrade from the Tribune, the Sam Zell days and all that stuff. So anyway, look, thank you guys for being on the show today with me, hanging out. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, get in the comments section. I love talking to you guys, even you Cardinal fans that are like, hey, you're insulted by me every day. By me just saying, hey, I'm not trying to challenge you to do 4 things. Because I know that if you ask Cardinal fans to like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit the bell, that's just way too much. Cubs fans, you guys got me. We're getting to 10,000 subscribers. You guys are going to help us get there. And let's do it before the end of the season. Share with your Cubs friends. Get in the comments section. Thank you guys for being here. Cardinals fans, good luck. Good luck figuring out how you're going to catch us. Go Cubs.